Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 17th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday, happy Garfield Day to you. Hopefully you marched along. Hopefully it was good for you, for ya. I don't know. But overall today was good. Did have a few drawbacks, couple drawbacks I should say. But we moved, we managed. It's fine. Work was overall good. Nice mix of slow and busy, so we love that for our no peak season. The gym was a bit uphill, mainly because my shoulder is still hurting me, still aggravated. But we overall got through it. Just some pain, a little Advil on top of it. But I think the only bummer I really have is that I definitely feel like I'm doing less. But also too, it was super busy today. I was like going in, and like when you go in, they have like this pip gauge, like activity, like how many people are in the building. Usually, even on a Monday, it's like 3. That's like peak. This time it was full up, so I was like scared. I was scared to go in. I'm like, this is gonna be wall to wall. Luckily, it wasn't that bad. It actually was one of those situations where I felt like I finished faster, just with the combination of like, well, if everyone's on these machines, then I'll just compromise and just do this thing and those things. And then also with my shoulder being what it was, I just wasn't, gonna push and do like too many sets or anything like that. So I was like, all right, let's just get through it. Let's just motor it. But overall, good gym session, and we got in and we got out of there. So that was good. That was solid. Another hang up that came when I came home is we have another parking gate situation. And this has been kind of taking place over the weekend. I've just been trying to be chill about it. When I go out on Saturday, apparently some minivan just comes and takes my spot. Okay, that sucks. It's annoying. I try not to, be a brat about that though, because if you're out of my spot the next day, I'm back in my spot. Everything's hunky dory. Who cares? Well, they left and then came back into my spot again because I guess they just think, it's theirs now. No one's gonna care. It's like, no, dude, I still live here. So, I had to put the notice up. I had to deal with that. But overall, once again, a couple of setbacks. It was a good day though. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to make it through. But before we get into the news, actually, I have a bit of a food corner. We made the usual chicken and rice bowl, but I don't know what got into me. I was just like, ugh, this chicken thigh is too small today. Like this one's just too small. And I was like, well, how do I add to this? Knowing I shouldn't, but I was like, how do I add to this? I just want a little bit more. And I added tuna to the menu. So we air fried some tuna, some chicken, and the carrots. It came together. It was definitely yummy. It was definitely good. I also, since I had like limited quantity at the time of lettuce, I added some kimchi as well, and a little bit of red onion. So, a couple of additions to the meal, but it was really good. It was really yummy. The tuna was a solid filler. If anything, it was too good, actually, because by the end of it, I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm too full. And I got lucky. We netted neutral scale wise. I expected to kind of hit a gain, unfortunately, especially because, I felt like I wasn't hitting it as hard at the gym. But hey, we will take a net neutral. You know what I mean? That's okay. But yeah, so that's where we're at. That's the status update. That's life. That's me, closing out the blog. Let's go ahead and do our startup and get into some news. I got to preface. I got to preface this episode by saying that sadly it's a pretty much a Trump verse episode. So hold on to your MAGA hat. But there may be a bit of a lore treat at the end with our last story that is not Trump related. So if you want to hang out for that or skip ahead, That's an option. So, here we go. From CNN, Trump administration deports hundreds of alleged gang members to El Salvador despite court ruling. Hundreds of mostly Venezuelan alleged gang members were deported from the United States to a prison in El Salvador on Sunday, with the Trump administration invoking wartime powers to speed up removals despite a court ruling halting the move. Oh, excuse me. In the latest dramatic showdown between the White House and the judiciary, a federal judge temporarily blocked the administration's ability to use the centuries-old Alien Enemies Act on Saturday evening and verbally ordered any planes in the air carrying some of those migrants to turn back to the U.S. I guess verbally is a key word here, because the Trump administration tries to say, hey, you didn't have that in writing. Oh, and also, since they were already in the air by the time you even fleshed out this verbal decree, it's out of your jurisdiction, Mr. City Slicker Judge, which is this is fast and loose with how law works. A lot of analysts are saying, experts, whoever, are saying, no, dude, you can't do this. The judge ruled on this, and you should have turned those planes around. That is a U.S. plane. This is U.S. No, come on now. But they more or less said, hey, we've asked for permission. Now it's we aren't even going to ask for forgiveness. We're just going to run it, because what are you going to do? Let's read a little bit further. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg. We're going to say Boasberg. I like Boasberg. Can we just say Boasberg and say that's what it is? Sure. Boasberg said the temporary restraining order will remain in effect for 14 days or until further order of the court. One person familiar with the matter said the planes were already in the air at the time of the judge's ruling. So yeah, this was a very much a timed affair where it was oh, okay, the shit's already in play. They're rushing the order. And essentially there was a couple people who are in this sweep that were hey, this is illegal what he's trying to do to us. And the judge is okay, yeah, I hear you. I'm going to try to get this expedited. But even by the time he did, they were already wheels in the air, already getting them to El Salvador and essentially saying, well, what can you do? Duh. Even Bukele, who is the president or whatever of El Salvador, posted a fucking tweet being oopsie, too late. Too bad, so sad. That's fucking... And these are human beings, by the way. I know that this whole thing is being assuaged by the Trump administration by saying, hey, these are criminals, these are gang members, these are terrorists. But once again, this is an otherizing thing that we are doing as a society to try to just say, hey, we can write a blank check and treat these people like they're subhuman. But they are human beings. They have human rights. They are supposed to go through a whole legal judiciary system that Trump is trying to circumvent to up his numbers. Purely that just to say he's doing something for you. Oh, he's making everything safer. No, motherfucker, he ain't making shit safe. It is frustrating that people are willing to just kind of shrug it off or whatever. It's not a big deal. Actually, this is a good thing. He's just expediting the process. What already should be happening? No. Because if this is happening to you or your family members, you wouldn't be saying that. Oh, well, these are Americans. No. These are people. They are awarded these rights for just being human beings and being here. That's how this should work. And you can't be oh, we're going to slap a new label on them and now we can just put them on a plane and just throw them away. Not to mention, they're not going. A lot of these people are not going to their home. They're not going to Venezuela. Venezuela's not taking them. Trump's okay, well, all right. And this is an ongoing tactic where he just goes, oh, well, I'll ship them off to anywhere. Be it Panama, be it El Salvador in this situation. I don't care as long as they're not in America. And make sure that they don't come back. That's essentially all he's trying to do here. And then wash his hands of this shit. So yeah, maybe there's a legal reprimand in the future, potentially, maybe, probably not. But what is that going to do? It won't matter to him anymore. It won't matter to this administration anymore. They'll just fucking bully along. But yeah, no, it was El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. Boo, fuck you. He added that Bukele had requested that 2 leaders of the MS-13 gang, as well as 21 other other Salvadorians being held in the U.S. be returned to face justice in their homeland. Bukele announced on X Sunday morning that the alleged Trin de Aragua, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, Aragua members have arrived in El Salvador and have been transferred to the Center for Terrorism Confinement, or CCOT, for a period of 1 year. His post included video of men being held off, or being led off of buses in handcuffs and having their head shaved. Yeah, this was the quote I was saying here. Bukele also appeared to make light of the incident early Sunday morning, sharing a screenshot of an article about the Saturday ruling. He wrote on X, "Oopsie, too late." Rubio later shared Bukele's post on his own page. So essentially being like, yeah, fucking like that shit. I love that shit. Fuck yeah. I wish I could say that, but I'm too much of a fucking pussy. Anyway, retweet. I mean, what else can I pull here? I mean, I've more or less talked about it in the riff nature, in the riff form. There's more details on CCOT just being a fucking dungeon. There is, talks from Bukele here. Critics have also pointed out that under the nationwide crackdown on crime in El Salvador, some constitutional rights like due process have been suspended. Oh, birds of a feather here. More than 80,000 people have been arrested throughout the country, accounting for more than 1% of the Salvadorian population. Bukele has admitted that some innocent people have been detained by mistake and that several thousand of them have already been released. He and many of his supporters argue that such collateral damage is part of the difficult process of transforming the country from being the murder capital of the world to one of the safest. Which is just bullshit for saying, I'm sweeping the streets, I'm doing the right thing, so what if I crack a crack a couple of good eggs? You know what I mean? We made a great omelet here, and it's safety. And motherfuckers try this in El Salvador. They try this in fucking America. They'll try it everywhere. But at the end of the day, they're not keeping you safer. They are just trying to mash down on the populace and throw them away and throw them around or bury them alive so that they can say, hey, we did something. Look at the statistics. It's so much better now. Fuck that shit. Fuck this administration. But we're not fucking done. We're just getting started. So let's move along. That was something that Trump has been kind of doing in mass in terms of these deportations, in terms of bigger numbers. And once again, just using the excuse of this is like a gang. These are terrorists, so we can give them the boot. It's fair. It's fine. It's not the only situation. It's not the only case of it. Not just in the mass, but also, I wanted to talk about a different type. From the Associated Press. Homeland Security says professor deported to Lebanon with U.S. visa supported Hezbollah leader. So you can already smell it. You can already maybe smell where we're going with this. So, terrorism. Oh, you should be scared. You should be just letting us do this and not even worry about it. Despite the fact that this is someone who is a doctor doing kidney transplants and shit. But don't bother about that. Homeland Security officials on Monday said that a doctor from Lebanon who was deported over the weekend, despite having a U.S. visa, openly admitted to supporting a Hezbollah leader and attending his funeral. The department statement posted on social media provides a possible explanation for Dr. Rasha Alaway's deportation, which has sparked widespread alarm, especially after a federal judge ordered that she not be removed until a hearing could be held. Government lawyers have said customs officials did not get word until Alawiyah was sent back to Lebanon. So once again, you just have this quick blitzkrieg-like fucking movement of just whisking a person up, snatching them up, detaining them with fucking ice, whatever, and then shipping them out, putting them on a plane, getting them out of here. Before there can be any kind of like judge or any kind of judiciary to say, stop, what are you doing? You can't do it. There's paces and means to that. Trump 2.0 does not give a flying fuck about that. It's the latest deportation, and this is where they bring up Mahmoud Khalil. They also talk about the shit we just talked about in El Salvador. Let's go ahead and move ahead. Stephanie Marzouk, Alaway's lawyer, said she would not stop fighting to get the 34-year-old doctor back in the U.S. to see her patients where she should be. Marzouk did not immediately return a request comment surrounding Homeland Security's allegations that Alaway supported a Hezbollah leader. So this is where we can get into it. News outlets that obtained the records, and that's from the Justice Department, before they were sealed, reported that Alaway had photos on her phone of Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of the Lebanese militant group for the past 3 decades. The guy we blew up. You know, or no, we didn't blow them up, right? Technically, Israel did that, right? You know, I get them all confused, and we're holding hands the whole way. I'm pretty sure it was Israel though that did that, but apparently she. Well, we can just read further. The Boston Globe reported she also had pictures of Hezbollah fighters and martyrs on her phone. According to Dr. Alloway, she follows him for his religious and spiritual teachings and not his politics, the court document stated. When asked why she deleted the photos days before arriving in Boston, Alloway allegedly told officers, "Because I didn't want the reception, but I know I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not related to anything politically or militarily." Look, pause. At the end of the day, if a person supports someone like Hassan Nasrallah, let them. It's just like being like, oh, well, oh, if you were one of those TikTok guys or girls or kids or whatever who liked Osama bin Laden, you deserve to get thrown into a gulag. No, once again, that is just not how this works. Like, you're allowed to express any and all these opinions in this goddamn country. Period. Flat out. Also, you're not in this culture. You're not there. You don't understand what these fucking people like and support and care about or why they care about it. It's so frustrating that we hold our noses up and say, oh, well, this is actually fine because this person was rooting or cheering for someone like Hassan Nasrallah. Like, you know, they deserve whatever happens to them. Meanwhile, they'll go fucking look after, they'll be like, oh, I love the Pope, or I love this president who's gonna blow people up every other fucking day just because he can. Like, insert leader here. Like, what are you talking about? Just have some goddamn perspective for once. If you really feel that way, just stop and fucking think. It's so frustrating. This is, once again, being used as a blank check to say, hey, we are going to scoop you up and throw you out. Because we can. Because we just want to. You know? We have scant enough reason and evidence to, and we just don't want you here. So fuck your visa. Fuck the law. No rules. And they just chuck a person out. A whole-ass person out. That's insane. Alloway, a kidney transplant specialist who previously worked and lived in Rhode Island, was detained at least 36 hours, the complaint said. She was to start work at Brown University as an assistant professor of medicine. U.S. District Judge Leo Sorkin issued an order Friday that an in-person hearing be scheduled Monday, with Alloway being brought to court. It couldn't happen. On Saturday, the cousin filed a motion saying customs officials willfully disobeyed the order by sending Alloway back to Lebanon. I mean, there's more details here. I am happy to hear that some people, came out. More than like 100 people or so came out in the rain in Rhode Island, to protest this, and also just to protest everyone who is being caught up in this whole maw, this dragnet. People like Mahmoud Khalil. But also, once again, how I was talking about the shit in mass being like not the only case. In this individual way of doing it it's so many people are being caught up in this way and then being sent home. Sometimes to places where they were only there maybe as a baby or as a young child, and now they're back here. They don't know the language. They don't know the people. They don't know anything. Their family, their way of lives is here. But once again, because they have the scan enough evidence or whatever, it's like maybe your visa expired. Maybe you are here illegally, whatever. We are going to scoop you up and spit you out. Period. Like, that's not how this should be. This is draconian ass shit. If you are wanting this, you are wanting something medieval, in my opinion. Like, it's draining. It's fucking draining, because at first when I heard this shit, I'm like, I'm running it through my head, and I'm like, well, how is it different than some of the other things and things of that nature? But you understand that he is doing hurdles over judicial law here and saying, I don't care what the judges are going to say or do anymore. It doesn't affect me. I'm bulletproof. My administration is godlike. Like, that's what he's doing. To a raucous applause for people. And what? There are people who are like excited that some Democrats are like, yeah, do a shutdown. Like, that's it? That's what we're hyped for? Like, the stakes are so low. The bar is so low at this point. It's so fucking bad. Like, when I do think about this is the shit that really bums me the fuck out a lot. You know what I mean? Because these, once again, are people. Like, maybe for you or me, we can all kind of just, put our head in the sand and be like, well, I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm fine. Everything's going to be A-okay for me. But you shouldn't have to use this, but you don't know that. Right now, the sun is shining on you. What happens when this administration or motherfuckers like this just continue to just keep getting away with it and using these kind of powers the way that they are using them? You know? Then it's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. I'm a U.S. citizen. Nah, man. You're just a piece of meat. You're just a fucking pawn to be moved around to these people. You shouldn't forget that shit. Anyway. I don't know. I'm just ranting out loud. This makes me feel all kinds of ick emotions. But anyway, we're not out of the Trump verse yet. We got one more thing I wanted to cover on it. From CBS News, Trump claims Biden's pardons of January 6 committee members are void vacant because they were allegedly signed with AutoPen. President Trump claimed late Sunday that preemptive pardons former President Joe Biden granted to members of the House Select Committee, that investigated the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol are void and vacant because they were allegedly signed with an AutoPen. However, the Justice Department 2 decades ago said the president can use an AutoPen to sign legislation, and the Constitution imposes few limits on the president's pardon power. In a post to Truth Social, shared just after midnight, Mr. Trump claimed without evidence that Biden himself did not sign the pardons he issued to members of the January 6th Select Committee, staff members, and officers of from the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department and U.S. Capitol who testified before the panel. Biden signed the full and unconditional pardon for any offenses arising from the committee's activities on January 19th, one day before he left the White House. Others who received preemptive pardons were Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, and several Biden family members. I also remember listening to some pushback, some aftermath on this shit, where people were like really butthurt that he did that, and I'm like, it's lame because he said he wouldn't do stuff like this, and then he kind of turned around and not just with the Hunter Biden thing, but then also this. Yes, is in a quote unquote abuse of his powers. I mean, sure, but look at the comparison here. Of course these motherfuckers are gonna just throw shields around whenever they fucking want, like they're Captain America. I'm not surprised about this. And technically, he was right to do it because look at him. Look at Trump sniffing around now, trying to say, hey, I can peel this back. I can show you how. Even though, in my mind, no, dude. This is legally, clad. Whether or not, Joe Biden's zombie ass is just pressing an auto pen button to sign these, he's within his legal right and power to do so. I don't like it. You don't like it. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. He's allowed to do it. You're allowed to do it. He's trying to find some kind of way or shape or form to void these things. And on this one, it's just annoying because clearly this is sheer pettiness. This is a sore winner who wants to really just seal the deal on his victory lap. And it's bro, let it go. Can you just fucking let it go, bro? I did want to read this because this is, after I read this, I was like, well, this is stupid. Patented in the early 1800s and used by Thomas Jefferson, the AutoPen is a device used to replicate handwritten signatures. So this seems like it seems like a marvel to me that they were using this in the 1800s. That kind of blew my mind right there. But then also, why are we bringing this up? I don't care about any of the extra exposition who used it in the recent times. Who gives a shit? Jefferson's been using this shit. This is ironclad ass fucking shit. I don't care what the Bush administration tried to do because maybe it's kind of weird to do that. Maybe you should have the pen in your hand. Who gives a shit? I don't care. This is dumb. Dumb, fucking dumb. Trump needs to let this shit go, have a Big Mac, and, worry about his fucking Magna Carta expansion plan. What the fuck? This is dumb. This is old news. Bring this shit up for fucking clicks is so lame. So, it's just a reminder that not only is he a terrible president, he's just, a terrible, clout whore. He's just bad at even being a celebrity at, all the time. Anyway. Okay. We're out of the Trump verse. We've breached. I promised you lore. I'm giving you bankruptcy. So, let's take our last break, and we'll close it out. I know a thing or two about bankruptcy, folks. I'll tell you all about it. How to beat it. Okay. Actually, I don't have a plan. NBC News. Forever 21 set to shut down its U.S. operations as it files for bankruptcy. So long, farewell, Alvitas and goodbye. Anyway, Forever 21, once a leader in youth fashion retail, is set to permanently close all its stores as it files for bankruptcy for a second time. Apparently, they had filed for bankruptcy in 2019, shelled themselves out, more or less, hollowed out. It was like a zombie brand at that point. They had an online store and then like a couple of, bigger stores, more or less almost flagship esque kind of situations. But they're closing their doors. The operator of the brand's U.S. unit said Sunday that foreign competition from fast fashion rivals, rising costs, economic challenges, and evolving consumer trends were to blame. For the time being, stores and the company's U.S. website will remain open as Forever 21 starts winding down operations and seeks a last-minute bidder for its assets. So we're picking the bones at this point, slowly but surely, but it's coming to an end. Also, I didn't dig into this, but I think I heard too that Macy's might be closing some stores. Not necessarily a bankruptcy, but that's not a good sign, right? But it is a sign of the times. Like, I kind of just want to get into riffing about this. I mean, it's the nature of this beast at this point, especially post-COVID. Like, if you are not a super strong brand, why are people aren't coming out to buy you? And not to mention, it's like this is an oversaturated market with fast fashion. Like, it's to the point now where you don't even have to go out to these stores. You can just go to Shein. You can go on Amazon. I know, no one likes it, but guess what? You're not consuming any of this shit ethically. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Neither here nor there. Like, there's just so many easy click button ways. I mean, I'm sure you can find a thing on Temu. Probably looks like ass, but like you might try that over going to buy the ass bullshit from, let's say, a Forever 21, right? So yeah, I mean, so it goes. They're closing down. They're shutting down. Why this matters to me? Why it mattered to me? Why would I care? You're not a fashion killer, motherfucker. You're right. But that being said, I used to work at Forever 21. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. That was like my first real job. Technically, my first job was CC's. I don't talk about CC's very often because it wasn't much of a job. They literally put me out to pasture, y'all. They put me on the street with a banner on my back, and then I just stopped coming. I couldn't cut it. Literally, I couldn't cut the pizzas. But that's neither here nor there. My first job, I was 18. Working at Forever 21. My friend helped me get the job. I was so nervous. I'm a boy at Forever 21. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. But my Forever 21 that I worked at had a men's section, so that was part of the reason why I got the job. I was a fish out of water. I didn't know my head from my asshole. I didn't know fashion from anything. I remember one of the first trials by fire I had. It was around Christmas. Someone came up to me and they wanted me to help them make an outfit. And I said, okay, well, what are you looking for? Like, what's the theme? And she said, I'm trying to be a sexy Santa. And I said, in my head, oh my God, I don't know what that means. And I proceeded just to try to throw some reds. Of course, I had to throw in a cami. That's the Forever 21 special. We got a cheap-ass cami. Because, I mean, obviously, that's the thing. Kind of getting back a little bit to the narrative. The reason anyone was coming to Forever 21 wasn't because they were some advent of fashion. It's just they had so much cheap shit. You didn't have to worry about, oh, is there a sale today? Baby girl, everything's on sale. Everything is cheap. And we have a fucking sale rack. Like, we have a whole sale area. Like, by all means, have at it. Just know there are no returns. Like, motherfuckers did not understand that. Like, we were not giving you cash back, at least. You could get an exchange, but no returns. I remember that was always the most annoying thing, was someone would come up and of course they had worn the thing or whatever, it didn't fit, blah, 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 blah. But I remember I loved it at the same time. Like, yes, you're annoying me, customer, but I have a certain kind of power here because guess what? There's no returns. Oh, you want to talk to my manager? Okay, all right, by all means, come over. Go ahead and tell him. Oh, there's no returns. So you want to exchange? I can get you the exchange. We can get you the exchange. And you can swap out the slop. But there's no returns. Your money, it belongs to the house. I mentally was a piece of shit. But fuck it. I was cutting my shit in the trenches, okay? I miss the mall. I miss being a mall rat. I was telling this to my friend the other day, and they scoffed at me because they didn't miss it. And I'm like, look, maybe that was like my real peak, and that's the shame. But I just loved it. I loved being a little mall rat at Forever 21. After that, I proceeded to work at Hot Topic. I proceeded to work at Route 21. I couldn't quit it. I remember I worked a week at PacSun before I just kind of realized, oh, you guys don't even like my vibe enough. You like my vibe to give me the job, but not enough to like give me hours. So I just faded away. But yeah, and then after that, I went to the movies, and now I'm at my warehouse job. So yeah, that's a full circle. So I made it. I am a Forever 21 survivor. That is why the story matters to me. You know, so happy trails, Forever 21. Smell you later. Smell you never. No more camis. Anyway, that'll be the episode for today. If you would like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie today. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any other socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. And Apple podcasts, whatever. You know, you can find me there. You can follow there. Keep up with me and the Joneses if you like. Leave a like, though. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. I always appreciate that. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for my ego. So, you know, there's that. And I guess, if you want to be mean and hurt said ego, you can dislike. You know, some people do that. And that's pretty fucked up of them. That's keeping it 99. But hey, that happens. Like I said, we're living in a society. Fuck it. Anyway, you can just hit that auto pin, baby. The auto Benjamin. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of the episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.